Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Red Dead Redemption 2 video, we're going to be checking out what happens if you visit Arthur Morgan's grave with 100% completion in Red Dead Redemption 2, having all of the check marks of the compendium done, which we'll take a look at in a little bit. So we've been doing a ton of experiments lately with Arthur Morgan's grave, checking out the differences between high and low honor, seeing if we can follow the spirit animals that appear at the gravesite, if they have high or low honor. A bunch of other experiments too. We found out sort of what happened to Arthur and who ended up burying him, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well. However, today we're going to be looking at something extremely cool. It's a nice little detail that Rockstar threw in here for those that get 100% completion of the game. So if you guys are wondering how far along you are, all you have to do is go to the start menu, and then you need to go to progress, and then over to total completion. And this will tell you how far you've gone. So there's a couple of different categories. You have missions and events, you have collectibles, you have compendium, you have player, miscellaneous, and a couple of others as well. And it gives you a really good idea of what you need to accomplish. And what's great about this is for a lot of these different things that you need to do, these tasks that you need to complete, you don't have to do everything. Like, for example, as far as bounties go, you only need to complete 5 of them when there's definitely way more than that in the game. Same with the point of interest. Like, you only have to find one point of interest, which is incredibly easy to do. Now, for some of them, you will have to find all of them. Like, for example, the cigarette card sets or dinosaur bones or legendary fish or rock carving. You will have to grab those. But that gives you a good idea, and you can see just how far along I am, 86%, so not quite there yet. However, if you do manage to reach 100%, you'll actually get a short but sweet and significant cutscene that happens if you visit Arthur's grave. Take a listen to this right here.
Guess we're just about done, my friend.
May I stand unshaken amidst the crash of the world? May I stand unshaken amidst the crash of the world.
So as you guys saw there, it's a cutscene that occurs. It's John Marston standing in front of Arthur's grave, and he says, "Guess we're just about done, my friend." And you can also see new journal entry on the right-hand side. He writes the exact same thing in his journal as well. He also draws what Arthur's grave will look like, which once again will vary if you have high honor or low honor. So in that cutscene, because it was high honor, he drew it with all the flowers and he drew it in pristine condition. And then at the very bottom, it says, "It's been quite a journey." Very cool stuff. So pretty cool. It's not like super game changing or super significant, but it is a nice little touch that Rockstar added in there, especially for those completionists out there that are looking to get to 100%, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are. Now, what's also kind of interesting is you guys heard that music that was playing right there. Even if you have your music in your settings turned all the way down, you will still hear this. So it is kind of a unique way for Rockstar to sort of play that final sound for you guys, is there's no way to ultimately turn that off. And I mean, it's not like it's a bad thing. I think the music is quite nice, but it is interesting that it overrides your audio settings and it's something you do eventually have to listen to. Now, I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about some more interesting details of Arthur's death, since, as we know, we're talking about his grave. He's certainly the one that's buried underneath. It's interesting that Arthur is the only protagonist in the Red Dead series who dies of natural causes. However, this is only possible if players did enough good actions in the game to keep Arthur's honor high enough. If you have low honor, you know that you'll eventually be finished off by Micah. However, if you have high honor, Arthur will sort of die on his own. Now, unlike the Grand Theft Auto series, yes, there are only a few Red Dead protagonists, but he is still the only one who dies of natural causes, which is sort of unique. Another thing that's interesting about Arthur is, according to Agent Milton, when he died, or at the time of his death, he had amassed a $5,000 bounty with the U.S. government. So if we were to take that into today's dollars, that would be $150,000. That is insane right there. That is a ton of money. So you can see just how much of a wanted man Arthur Morgan is. And sort of building off of that, there's also a newspaper article as well that sheds some interesting details on Arthur's death. According to this newspaper article, they wrote that Arthur was killed in a Pinkerton raid. So it almost seems as if the Pinkerton agents are taking credit for killing Arthur, which I guess you could say is true, because it's the final raid on Beaver Hollow that ultimately causes the firefight and the, scuffle with Micah. But they're taking full credit for it, which I think is kind of interesting. Maybe they're just trying to make the Pinkertons look a little bit better, or maybe they didn't want to say that it was outlaw on outlaw violence that ended up killing Arthur Morgan. So either way, that's how they ended up writing it in that newspaper article. Now, as we've discovered from previous videos, if you're wondering how Arthur was buried, well, you can actually thank Charles Smith for that. Charles Smith was the one that buried Arthur. Now, we don't know where Charles was, if he was in Canada and simply returned, but he came back to bury him and Miss Grimshaw. And he put Arthur on the hill we're at for a specific reason, facing the sunrise the way he would have wanted. Now, something I just learned about this cutscene that happens if you reach 100% completion is, no matter what you're doing, it will actually teleport you to Arthur's grave. So the only footage I had seen of this so far is someone getting 100% completion by visiting Arthur's grave last. Because as you guys saw in the compendium, you have to visit your fallen members at their grave site in order to get 100%. So I just thought when he visited Arthur's grave, it triggered that cutscene. No, it turns out whatever you're doing, if you're on the other side of the map and you reach 100% by completing some objective, you'll be teleported to the top of the mountain right at Arthur's grave. So that is kind of cool, and it is something to know. Not that it's like an extreme inconvenience in any way, shape, or form, but just know that if you are planning on reaching 100% completion, that you'll be immediately teleported to the Grizzlies where Arthur's grave is. Now, we also know that Arthur was buried completely separately from the rest of his family. We don't have a ton of details on his family other than maybe what we see at the gang site itself. We can see that there's a photo of his mom, who's Beatrice Morgan. This photo was taken in 1970 in a place called Spring Rocks. I'm not sure if Spring Rocks is in the game. It doesn't sound familiar, so I'm assuming that it's somewhere either out west or up north or further to the east. There's also a photograph of Arthur's father, who we actually know died when he was 11, so at a super young age. And we also know that his father was arrested for larceny in 1874. So there's a good chance because of that, his father doesn't even have a grave. I don't know what they do with people who die in prison or anything along those lines. But we can also see that Arthur has his dog, which we don't know where Arthur's dog went to. It's likely that it's either passed away or just never made it on the journey that we're having right now, or maybe it was left back in the early days of Blackwater. In case you guys are curious, according to the Red Dead Redemption wiki, his dog's name is Copper. So that's kind of interesting right there. That's actually something I just figured out, but that is pretty cool. And last but not least today, I'm not sure how many of you guys know this, but Arthur was actually 36 when he passed away in 1899. So he was born in 1863, which would precisely, given the month in which this happens, would make him 36 years old when he passed away. I'm not sure if that would be considered old or young for 1899. I know in today's standards, that would be very, very young if you were to pass away at 36. But back in 1899, I don't know if that would be like at a midlife crisis point, if you were like, 60 or 50% done with your life. I'm not sure. Maybe you guys can let me know in the comments down below. But anyways, that's all the information that I've got for you guys in this video today. And that right there is what happens if you visit Arthur Morgan's grave with 100% completion in Red Dead Redemption 2. If you guys did go on to enjoy this video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you like daily Red Dead Redemption 2 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care. And I'll see you guys in the next video.